Okay, I have to redo what I already. So I'm basically making this video to talk about my hyperacusis because there's a lot of information out there that is wrong. A lot of people rely on what other people say. And if you're a targeted individual, you already know how damaging the misinformation that others give to those around you can be to your entire life and career. So I'm really super aware of this, and I wanted to put out a video about my hyperacusis that I was diagnosed with at one of the United States' best hearing clinics in audiology in the United States, obviously. So in 1999, I was in music college. I had already had a pretty good run as a young artist in Pennsylvania on piano for classical piano. So I was already a known young artist. And while I was in music college, I was diagnosed with hyperacusis and the subset category of superhearing, because across the entire audio spectrum, my hearing perception was that of hearing things 50% louder than what most people hear. So, what it meant was I had to go to a hearing specialist because I was hearing the droplets of water break in the shower as clear as day. And it was like just shattering sound all around me when I would go in the shower to take a shower, or the refrigerator and the electronics running. I could be 2 or 3 rooms away and I would hear it as loud as, a loud night outside with all the crickets and the cicada going. It was louder than that. It was like they were going off in my head. So it wasn't a psychological disorder. It was actually a hearing disorder, and not just a hearing disorder, but a hearing disability. So what I've had to do is try to protect myself by not telling people I had this disability, because in the music world, I mean, I already had $250,000 invested in my music learning between my college degree, um, the piano, and all of the training I had for 18 years, well, 17 years up until I entered college. I mean, I started in music preschool. So if you add up all of that money, that's a lot of money. That was $250,000 that was spent on teachers who, obviously, the music industry doesn't care how well trained you are or if your teacher's great or not. There are some of us who they just burn up in music, but I am to finance their own personal studios. So they're also, not high caliber musicians. So I have this different way of teaching now as a piano teacher, because I communicate the mindset of teaching piano in order to get my students to be able to perform rapidly. So a long time ago, people who do know me as a music teacher, piano teacher, know that I resurrected a school from a teacher walkout. I resurrected a conservatory because I knew, as a grassroots organizer, I've had 15 years of training in grassroots organizing, that they already had 10 years of operational expenses on the books, close to 10 years. And if they just crossed that couple more years barrier that I was there, they could then apply for operational grants, which is like phenomenally difficult to do from scratch. Most organizations burn out in 4 years. So I was like, okay, I'm here to rescue this school for whatever reason. So I devoted my hours teaching, being a registrar. I was the first teacher hired by the artistic director and the director. The artistic director was also the Metropolitan Opera's vocal rehearsalist coach. Okay. So I had this enormous amount of pressure on me to create performers within 9 weeks. I had beginning students who never had the piano before, And in 9 weeks, they had to perform. So it didn't matter if they stayed in my studio or not. My studio had a cap. I almost lost it when they upped it to 58 students. I had heard at that time there was someone in San Francisco with 98 students at a conservatory like where I taught. I just have this hearing disability, so it was like, I can't do anymore. But they didn't care, obviously, about me as a human being. I was just there to facilitate their ego. And they, you know, broke through the barrier and didn't like the fact that I was resistant to them. But anyway, I saved the school by teaching over 400 kids and then keeping the kids in the studio who obviously also got along with me. Their family got along with me so that we could work towards performances for a couple years instead of the 9 weeks or the 18 weeks for the semester. And that eventually eroded after I created enough performers for that school to be successful. I was the primary teacher at that school, though other people had professional reputations to protect. But I had also a significant amount of artistry in my background and was known in Pennsylvania. So I financially didn't reap in any benefits. It might have looked like it, but the school got 50% of my money, because I was a contractor. I also only got a check once every 6 weeks. So for more than half of my week, I mean, 26 to 32 hours or 36 hours a week at the conservatory, actually teaching lessons does not include all my other time. I had to pay about over 20% in taxes on that money. So 20% of 17,000 is almost nothing. And so I was destitute. If it weren't for my ex-partner, who I'd been with for 7 years, and the business that we worked on from the time he graduated from Cornell University, I would not have had any income to pay my bills with. That's basically what it came down to. So I would go back and forth from Ithaca, New York to Pennsylvania frequently because of that. And if I wanted to perform, I had a friend in North Jersey in Bayonne where I used to practice for the faculty concerts. So it's been a really, really tough ride since I went to Hawaii as well. But in Hawaii, I didn't have a huge studio or business like I wanted it to be. I was a newbie on the island, so like other newbies on the island, are ostracized from the local economy, and rightly so, because the local people need to keep their homes and families intact, and it's a very terse economic environment. I was really appreciative to be included. But my studio is pretty much only executives, CEOs, IMDb actors and martial arts coaches, MMA coach. So my other students were from Japan and they took English and music lessons with me in Honolulu. So it was a really different environment to work with adult professional actors, actresses, models. I mean, no fear models, Playboy channel, the Japanese girls go on Playboy channel. Some of them had bands in Waikiki that performed, or they just wanted to talk and work on something that they felt uncomfortable with. So those are language barriers. A lot of things are language and sound barriers that I can work with people on because I'm a little more patient and I understand because my mom was an immigrant. So I've always been open and receptive to the difference in the language that doesn't exist with a lot of music teachers. I know that from my own experience. I wasn't even acceptable for being mostly Asian. Genetically, I didn't get that many white genes from my dad, and I'm literally 80% Asian and 20% Caucasian. So it's been a different climate for me to survive in with a white name. For other people who don't know, besides the hyperacusis issue, which I could get into more detail about, but I'm just describing it because it's not the same as tinnitus, right? Um, Tinnitus is like supposed to be one pitch or something like that that rings in someone's ear. And I do not know what that is like. I have a very live, I'll put it that way, like a live hall. But my ears focused on all the nuances of the sound so much that I hear the water droplets breaking and shattering. It's not an imagined thing because they had to put me in an auditory clinic and have the sound technician, I mean, working with a sound technician, a hearing specialist, and you're doing the hearing test, right ear, left ear, panning, right? But at different frequencies that are normally not in the audible range of perception by most ears, especially in modern days when everybody uses these things, earbuds, wireless or not, to hear sound and then destroy your eardrums. I'm the opposite. My eardrums were just perceiving everything as a completely live environment, like it was under an acoustic microscope. So that became debilitating, and I had to wear attenuated earplugs, which didn't really help. It took some of the pain away. I'll put it that way. It took some of the pain away, but it didn't really help. I had the construction type earplugs I had to wear all the time. And that gets really tough because I not only still have incoming sound that was very live, but I also had to sort out that sound and make something quality out of it. So it's like overkill. And then wonder about how that sound sounds to everybody else, because to me, I'm drowning in sound, literally drowning in sound. And so where you just hear the water droplet maybe plunk in the sink, I hear the water droplet plunk, hit the bottom of the sink, bottom out, shatter, and then the reverb from the metal. I mean, that's what my hearing was like. That's why it was a subcategory in hyperacusis as super hearing, because some people just have hyperacusis where a loud sound is enough to set them off. Mine was to the point where I was flooded. So I wanted to make that really clear. I don't think it's anything like what I hear tinnitus is, where tinnitus is just one sound and it doesn't go away. Mine got better, so I could at least be around other musicians playing again, but it is mentally exhausting. So my maximum day teaching back then was about 4 hours of lessons, a lesson's worth of sound. And then when I needed to do my practice sessions, I usually had to wear earplugs or find some way to tune it out. So I'm going to leave it at that. My other campaigns and stuff are going up on GoFundMe because I haven't had a lot of financial support from the mainland. I no longer am with my ex-partner. We had worked together planting gardens because he graduated Cornell Ag School back then. And politically, since I've been away from Bucks County and the mainland for so long, I was in Ithaca, New York. So everyone knows Ithaca, New York is a stomping ground for the Democratic Party, right? And his friends were Clinton boys. Sorry, I'll say it. They're not me. I'm not wealthy at all. I've never married. I've never had my own house, any of that. But we had a house together through the business. His mom put it in her name. So when I left everything behind. Yeah, so I don't have any support over here on the East Coast right now financially. So I'm looking to do crowdfunding, and I need to do it quickly, to be really honest. The Pennsylvania community was always super Republican. Even Doylestown, the conservatory that I saved, had a very Republican staff, the director and the artistic director then. So they didn't like anything democratic. So I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't a human being to them. They hired a new teacher before we parted ways, saying that they had one of me. Well, we have someone like you. We have one of you. So that meant they owned somebody who's Asian. And in their head, that's how it works out, because they never talked to me about my relationships, my family, nothing personal at all. And then they tried to make me go out with people who worked at the conservatory, which was completely inappropriate because I was supposed to work towards a business role in international business. So that's the problem of being a minority and having other people try to do whatever they want with your life when you have a lot more responsibilities, but they don't respect the international relationships or climates at all. So I'm a thing to those people, and I'm still kind of a thing to the DNC. But so I'm independent, just so everybody knows. Let me make that really clear this year. I'm an independent because nobody has been treating me well. I grew up in one of the longest standing Republican community in the United States before it went Democratic, which was very recent. So for over 300 years, this place has been Republican. And I'm trying my hardest to survive and recreate my life here. So I'm asking for people to be understanding of me and supportive, and hopefully to help me in my crowdfunding. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, I have an explanation for a lot of my behaviors because of my disability, but that's not something most people are receptive to. So that's why I've made this video. I am a piano instructor. Like I said, I do communicate my knowledge, usually in a way where I'm conversating with someone. So online lessons are ideal, even if I'm not at the piano, where I can be at the piano, but I can share my knowledge with others so that you're prepared for performance. Competition level stuff is different. I mean, I had gotten ready for that international competition, Bartok Kabalevsky, with earplugs in my ears, like I was working with jackhammers. So, I mean, that's tough on me. I probably will never be on stage again playing piano. I did one gig in Hawaii, which was fun, with a pole dancer and some acrobatics and a magician show. We wanted it to be like the old officers type of show back in the 40s, which was why it was called the Mercury Wonder Show. It was exactly after the officers types of shows, but with the added pole dance in it. And some people said it reminded them of France and stuff, but it was more of an old school type of show. And I have the music I wrote for that show, background music. I was asked to improvise. I wrote, and so I did that under Lost Bottle Publications, under ASCAP. So that was like my one thing I got to do. I never got to record it professionally, but maybe somebody has recordings out there a lot of the whole thing. So basically that's it. I just wanted to share, and I'm going to leave this video up. Regardless of what people think, I'm not asking for comments either. It's just the way it is right now. So please support me, and I hope you learned a little bit. Thanks.